I've never seen a guy hit so many big home runs than Francisco Lindor. I mean, I am in the middle of something special.
Do you think you can? You think you could recognize a picture of him now?
I don't know.
Francisco Lindor, the coolest thing to me about that Grand Slam yesterday is the way that he rounded the bases as if he expected it.
Confidence.
He was so bad for them last year. He's been so bad for them since signing that contract. And Francisco Lindor hit an enormous home run. He feels like the MVP of the league ever since they moved him to the leadoff spot. And he hit it with such a relaxed Stugotz emotion.
Yes.
When he's rounding the bases, and I'm expecting, Stugotz, you've seen this from Pete Alonso and others, they hit the big home runs, and they round the bases with a great deal of emotion. And Francisco Lindor rounded these bases as if this was the most casual stroll and unexpected thing he's ever seen, as the announcers do all the Hispanic for him.
Dura para atrás. Viene Esteve, el lanzamiento, saca batazo, peligroso, profundo para el central. La pelota está tomando altura. De locura en el City Field. Recogiendo porque los Mets. Paquito Lindor con las bases llenas.
Feel that's cheating at the end to just sort of sing your way out of the call.
What happened to the Dracula guy? Is that the same guy or is that a different guy?
Different guy.
Lindor's been okay since he became a Met. First year he was actually pretty good, but he did round the bases like he expected that from himself with max confidence. It was great to see, and somehow the Mets are this lovable, scrappy underdog with the highest payroll in baseball.
Stugotz, Lindor, since he's been there, since signing that contract, has been a far lesser player than the one that he was in Cleveland until the last 3 months.
Well, what he's done the last 3 months is legendary. What he's done the last 3 weeks is legendary. He was top 10 in MVP voting last year, though. Dan, he was. He won a Silver Slugger. I mean,
look at how his career started with the Mets and what it is that he was struggling with and what it is that they thought they were buying when they brought him over, because he has been the face of their underachievement before this recent success. And I'm a little floored to see him rounding the bases as if they're just getting started in New York with this stuff. How do you guys feel about seeing Giancarlo Stanton behind only Babe Ruth in terms of number of home runs he hits per at-bats in the postseason? He's 1 home run every 9 at-bats in the postseason. Only Babe Ruth is better in the history of the postseason.
It just shows how stupid baseball stats are and how you can manipulate the numbers to tell you anything is the greatest thing you've ever seen. Like last week or the week before, we were saying Pete Alonso hit one of the greatest home runs in the history of baseball. Mm-hmm. And then we were outside at the table today before the show just talking about the Mets, and they were saying Francisco Lindor's home run was better than Pete Alonso's home run. So, like, in a week and a half, the Mets are single-handedly sweeping out all of the historic home runs in baseball history in the eyes of people watching the postseason right now, which is just an incredible. I would urge everyone who's missing the postseason, tune in, because what we're watching right now, in the eyes of the people who sit in the table outside, are the greatest things that have ever happened in the history of the game.
Guys, starting to watch a little postseason baseball, now getting into it. Okay,
now's the time.
Saw the most baseball I've seen all season. Saw the first 3 innings of Dodgers, Padres, Dano. Shohei Ohtani. Whoa. Dan, before last night, 14 of 17 with runners in scoring positions. 15 of 17 hit a nice little.
Well, it wouldn't be 14 of 17 and then 15 of 17. It would have to be 15
hard to
of
do,
18.
yeah.
That kind of thing.
There's a walk in there. Sometimes that doesn't count. Tony, get this.
Yeah, bats. Yeah.
Shohei pitches also.
No, I know that. He had a little Tommy John, which is why he couldn't pitch.
TJ.
A
little
Tommy John. Little Tommy John. Not a big Tommy John.
Little
Tommy John.
Just
a little Tommy John.
May make an appearance this postseason. Keep an eye.
Billy, do me the favor when going through all of baseball history not to just quote the Fuentes brothers as
Ethan was involved in this
as
too.
the people who can tell you that the Lindor home run in the 6th inning is bigger than the Alonso one that ended up being unlike any homer in the history of the sport. And we're saying it was one of the biggest home runs in Mets history, not one of the biggest home runs ever. Those are two very
not what
different
that table
things.
was saying.
Yeah, I know.
Dan, you do it in New York, it automatically becomes one of the biggest home runs in baseball history. That's how it works.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Carter,